Well, criminal law expert Ian Allis joins us now for a response to those news. Ian, a good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. What a time, right, for these news to come to light, that KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is now suing that high-profile forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan on the eve of the Nhlanhla inquiry for defamation, 5 million rand. I mean, initial reaction upon hearing that news.
Good evening to the viewers as well. It doesn't necessarily surprise me when it comes with O'Sullivan making certain of these statements at this time, if one could go ahead and say. What's more concerning is whether or not there is any truth to the allegations, and also taking into account the time, because certain of this, we raise certain of these allegations, is dating back possibly 12, 13 years already. And now it's coming to light a decade later. Why was this never brought to light prior to this Nhlanhla Commission starting, which has already been rife with delays and other issues? If one has in mind that a lot of the Mkhwanazi allegations were raised, especially in regards with corruption and the political killings, was raised months ago. Why now is O'Sullivan raising this? Is the first thing. And secondly, are these reports valid? And that's where the crux of a defamation suit comes. Is it the truth? Is it a public interest, and is there something material to these allegations that are being made by O'Sullivan? Otherwise, he might be on a bit of a hammering if these are proved not to be true.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, of course, the understanding that Mkhwanazi will be the first witness to sit before the Nhlanhla Commission. So much anticipation around what it is that he would have to say, and then this sideshow happening in the background. And I wonder if that strengthens what he says going into the commission tomorrow, when you've got this legal process going that is a lawsuit against a forensic investigator. Does that put Mkhwanazi in good or bad stead for the commission?
What it does is it potentially places him in a state of flux as far as his credibility goes. Because if at this present moment, Mkhwanazi has got quite an impeccable reputation. If this is deemed to be true, what O'Sullivan has now raised, it puts into question the honesty of Mkhwanazi throughout his tenure with the police, especially as a senior official. And that in its own right could go ahead and compromise any evidence that he makes, but that he tenders. But the one thing that one must also go ahead and take into account is this is stating one aspect. Now, these are not being raised in regards to, at this current stage, the basis for the Nhlanhla Commission.
Yeah.
What's being raised in respect of the Nhlanhla Commission is basically political interference in regards to the investigation of crimes and basically the undermining of justice. So technically, you're dealing with a very different aspect. So even if he might have committed some ill deeds in the past, that doesn't mean that the crux of what he is now saying is actually untruthful or should be waylaid for any other reason other than that it's simply non-existent.
Yeah.
So, from a summary point of view, is it shouldn't have an effect if it's something completely different. But what it does do is it creates ammunition for the people who are the protagonists in the matter and are going to be very Mkhwanazi, to give them some ammunition to use against him in this, to kind of deflect from their own misdeeds.
You know, I suppose as we prep for this commission, I think back to the words of the acting police minister, Feroz Kachalia, as he talked about how this commission is going to see some shocking revelations, right? And I wonder if we expect mudslinging. I think immediately to the allegations that are allegedly being made by O'Sullivan about Mkhwanazi, that he has links to organized crime, having accepted luxury gifts and misappropriating funds. But at the same time, there's the credibility of Paul O'Sullivan that also will be a big issue when you consider that just recently you had the Chief Whip of Action SA who filed criminal charges against him, saying that he threatened and intimidated him. I mean, again, there's so much and such a twisted sort of web that we're looking at and so many moving parts. But the biggest revelations that you think we're going to be seeing over the next few days with Mkhwanazi on that podium?
First and foremost, you've got to actually accept the fact that O'Sullivan doesn't shy away from controversy. And certain of his reputation sometimes hasn't exactly been, if one could say, covered in glory. We've got to be very careful with regards to how much credibility to put into these allegations and the sources of O'Sullivan's allegations. And that's where it's going to, in actual fact, be very important. Secondly, the timing of this whole issue. Realistically, O'Sullivan is an independent party and he's kind of an army unto himself. And this is one thing that's been seen throughout all of his investigations, which have been high profile. He's not one to go ahead and shy away, and he's also not one to hold his cards close to his chest. So this is going to be very interesting to see also what the motivation behind now these revelations in actual fact is, and who was the party to put him onto this. Because one's got to bear in mind, O'Sullivan is an independent forensic investigator. So for him to do this, he's got to be put onto the job by somebody. That someone wants him to do this and to investigate into this. This isn't coming just out of his own free will because he feels like it. So let's be candid, there's a lot more people pulling strings than one would actually like, and we're going to see a lot of mudslinging. We're also going to see very interesting revelations, whether those are based in truth or imagination or concocted. That's only time will tell with regards to to what is behind. What is going to be the thought process behind the various parties involved?
Yeah, well, I can tell you this, that especially with this development, much of the country going to be glued to their screens, I think, as we watch this commission of inquiry take off. Ian, thank you so much for chatting to us, and we'll continue catching up as those developments continue to pour in. Ian Allis there, criminal lawyer, responding to the news that the KZN top cop, Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, is, of course, initiating a lawsuit against forensic investigator Paul O'Sullivan for 5 million rand. This is for defamation.